What is up? It's a figure hunter, and today we're going to do a first look at the Garmin Forerunner 265, which is hot off the press. Announced, I think, a week or two ago, and the 965 is on its way, but it's on back order. So we're going to look at the ins and outs of this. I'm also releasing a separate video for looking at just the watch faces and some of the nuances to the new interactive experience with the new software layout, as well as today I'm releasing the first look at the Amazfit T-Rex Ultra, which is just, fresh on the market as well. So we're going to look at this in a multiple of different ways. We're going to look at the size and the screen and compare it to the original sort of memory and pixel. I don't have the original 255 because I'm operating on a shoestring budget and can't own and keep every watch for all time. But I will show you compared to a regular transflective other type of watch. We're going to look at the features and interface. We're going to look at the first heart rate test from a CrossFit workout today, as everything on this channel I do is for training, testing devices for CrossFit or high intensity interval training versus all the running, biking, and swimming videos out there. So we're not looking at GPS tracks in this video or in any other videos. We're going to look at the battery life, and we're going to talk about it in general. So if you compare this to the 255, you'll see that this has a lot of the same specs, but what it has different is pretty pronounced. So the 255 had 14 days and with music was $400. This is $450 and has 13 days, but a brilliant, beautiful, bright 1.3 AMOLED screen, as well as if you use the always on, it's going to get 4 to 5 days of battery life, but the sacrifice, in my opinion, is worth it. It automatically comes with music. That's why it only really is compared head to head with the 255 music. It's got a new edition of training readiness, which is Garmin's new training evaluation based on 2 24-hour metrics as well as 4 7-day metrics to determine or provide insight and guidance to whether you should go hard today or take part-time off, as well as it has a new band feature with a dual color band. So we're going to look at all of that hands-on, and then we're going to talk about it in summary and come back together. All right, so here we have it, the 265 with this new AMOLED screen, 1.3 inches in diameter. It's big, it's bright, and it's beautiful. This is turned up to max brightness, so you're going to get a little bit more brightness. And if you were to compare it to a transflective screen, we'll just start that out of the gate. Here's what a transflective screen would look like from Polar's Pacer. Polar doesn't have the brightest screen. If you were to look at a transflective screen when you go to an Enduro, this is at 60% brightness, so you can sort of see a comparison that the memory and pixel or transflective nature is just not as brilliant. And the thing about transflective screens is that if the backlight is off, if you're in a dim or dark room, you're not going to be able to see it. So even though it's quote unquote always on, if there's not a backlight, you're not going to see it. Whereas if you have an always-on display that's showing a dimmed version, you don't have to look anywhere. It's still crisp enough to be able to see when you're just looking at it at a glance. So when you look at the body of the watch, it's just an all-plastic casing. It does have metal buttons, which I really do think is a nice feature. I love that it's sort of like a frosted metal. And then the back with just the Elevate 4.0 sensor, which is on their generation, the same charging cable, although the charging cable now goes to a USB-C. And then the two-tone band. So the two-tone band's got this little feature here, which, a nice little touch. It shines through in the middle. It is a little bit more rigid than the original band, so it's got a little bit more of a, just rigidity to it. But in general, the biggest thing about this is going to be the screen, as well as the added addition of training readiness. So one thing we're going to, there's a whole separate video that is released at the same time as this that shows you all the different watch faces you could choose from and how you can adjust each of these little data points. I love that I can see my recovery time right here, my last night or my average heart rate variability measure, my nightly heart rate variability, as well as my body battery here. You can change those to certain things. You swipe up or down to get to the widgets. With the widget glances is where you get all your primary information. We're not going to go through every detail here because this is just a first look of what you get. It obviously has music built into it. You can connect to Spotify. This is a Spotify playlist that's been downloaded on the watch, so I don't actually have to own the MP3s. You can see what it looks like to see an activity when you go into the activity itself to see how it looks on an AMOLED watch versus what you would experience on a 255 memory and pixel transflective watch. So a big, pretty graph. We are going to see in a second the first heart rate results when compared to a chest strap, and you'll see that they're good. But it was a hard workout, so it was put me at a high aerobic impact as well as a mid-level anaerobic impact, as well as a pretty healthy load score. And then all of this combines as well to go to your recovery time for that particular workout, which is found in your training status. It's not found in the app. So training status is based on a multiple of format. You can see all sorts of cool things where it's how pretty the screen is. I mean, just awesome. Sometimes the touch screen is a little bit not immediate responsive, and you have to make sure you do a deliberate swipe or press, but you can see the recovery time. It was like 32 hours when I first finished it. And then the big addition to the 265 is this training readiness. Now, training readiness based on 2 24-hour metrics and 4 7-day metrics. So the 24-hour metrics are how did you sleep last night, and then how much recovery time is needed before this is saying you should have a next hard workout. The recovery time here is awesome. It's better than everybody else because it not only is based on the rigor of the last workout, but it's also based on your quality of sleep. So if you get bad sleep, it's going to add time to it, or your overall stress throughout the day. So all of those come together to determine if you should have another hard workout. And then the 4-day or the 7-day metrics is heart rate variability status, your acute load over the last 7 days, your general sleep history, poor, correct, and your general stress history over the last 7 days. So all those culminate to give you an overall gauge, 0 to 100, for how hard you should go. Obviously, I just had a hard workout, so it's saying I really shouldn't go right now. Just slow down. But this is the interaction. This is the interface. Again, reference that other video if you want to see the features that are in the watch faces themselves. But this is how the 265 looks in person. Let's look at the first results of before I leave this topic. It's at 85%. So we're going to track this. It's giving me a 4-day estimate till it's already dead. But this was like 5 hours ago that it was at 100%. So it's a 15%. Obviously, I worked out. Obviously, the watch face was always on, and it was always on during the workout. But we're going to track the battery because at 15% in the time period since it's been fully charged, you'll see on the screen how long it's estimated to last. So we'll have to watch that over time. All right, so this is the first result for the 265 versus the chest strap. It was a hard workout, and it did have, it's basically 6 rounds. It was 30-minute workout with 4 minutes on, 1 minute of rest. So 5-minute intervals for 6 rounds. The first 4, you basically had a goal to get through a certain number of toes to bar and with a partner, and we did it in 4. So we just actually continued to do a more casual paced work for the last 2. So you'll see 4 big hills and 2 small hills. That's what it was. But the red is the chest strap and the blue is the watch. I was wearing a wrist wrap for the toes to bar. So you can see that it basically followed the pace exceptionally well. I would say this was, 95% accurate. The dip in this first part, I don't think is a significant anomaly that would disrupt the training analysis or the training load analysis. This drop off here was due to an adjustment on my wrist that I remember for the toes to bar after I got done with that round. And, overall, it's tracking very well, as we have seen the Elevate 4.0 heart rate sensor track before. It is not as perfect as the Apple Watch, but it is nearly as perfect and sort of a close-ish second. If the Apple Watch is 96% accurate, the Garmin Elevate 4.0, especially on a lighter watch like the 265, is coming in at about 92% accurate. So it's picking up the majority of the work you need to be able to get proper training evaluation, although I always suggest you connect to a chest strap to get the truest analytics for your workout and recovery. So what do I think in summary? Just first look out of the gate. For $50 more over the 255 with music, you're getting training readiness, a dual color band, and an 8,000 times brighter AMOLED screen with about the same battery life. So for me, you don't look at the 255 at all. You jump straight to the 265 because it's going to be a much better experience, a better interaction. It's got a touch screen than you would get on the 255. Plus, the training readiness, I think, will continue to be evolved. It'll be a metric that will become more and more worthwhile to a rigorous training schedule. What do I think out of the box just in general in the first day of testing? I think we're going to have to watch the battery life to see how it holds over time with that always on display and all the sensors turned on. as well as we're just going to have to see how the interaction continues to feel with a touch screen, which I have been using primarily a buttons only. And this will be a new experience to have the more touchscreen enabled or capable watch to see if that experience somehow adds value or benefit. So with that, that's the first look at the Garmin Forerunner 265 AMOLED screen. It's the Fit Gear Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.